So a lot of people, they know that I'm a photographer. They know that I'm big into photography, videography, and everything. But Killdeer, my best friend, he came up to me a couple days ago. Actually, no, it was more than a couple days ago. He came up to me last week and he said, "Hey, I got a great idea for you. Whenever a K-pop group is getting ready to come back out with a new album, they do what's called concept photography, just to get people excited and to basically get people amped up, like, oh my gosh, this band's coming back." And so there's a lot that's been going on lately, especially with the group BTS. K-pop is becoming a very prevalent force here in the world, and that's a good thing. I'm not criticizing that at all. Like, it's a great thing. They have positive messages. It's great. But as everybody knows who watches this video, the group BTS, they've been on pause for the past few years because, down in South Korea, they have this law that all men must serve in the military for X number of years or months when they turn a certain age. And so all the members of BTS, they had to reach out and they had to, do their due diligence, their requirements, for their country, and they went and served in the military. But the good thing is they're all wrapping up on their military service. And so with that being said, the first one that came home was Jin. I've done some videos on, some of the Run Jin episodes, and they were great. Go check those out after this video, obviously. But they've been doing some concept photography, and that means that they're getting people amped up because BTS is coming back. And I'm very excited about this because, again, they leave such a positive influence on not just themselves, but on the world, and not even just in the country, their world. They leave a good, positive influence on the world. And I love the fact that, they always have such good lyrics. They try to have positive lyrics. But without further ado, let's look at some of the concept photography for this. So this is a great shot. I love this shot. As a photographer, I love this shot. There's a lot about this that we could talk about. Knowing that they had to darken the whole stage, and you can see the silhouette of this member of BTS. I'm not exactly sure which one this is. You can tell me in the comments below. I'm still learning my way around BTS. I know, I'm still learning. But there's a lot I love about this. I love the fact that you can see the silhouette of their face, like where their face is. You can see the silhouette of their hair, the jacket. There's just so much about this, and I love the fact that you can even see the camera right there, which is so cool. And I think that's so creative because as a photographer, you strive for creativity. You want your photos to pop. You want them to take off. You want people to just be blown away. And I love that right here. You have this great shot of this member of BTS, and you can see the outline of his jacket. You can see the outline of his hair. You can see just that he's in the moment. And I think that is such a cool shot. I would love to take a shot like this one day of myself, maybe, or just of someone else. So that would be a really cool shot. And then here's the same individual. I believe this is Jin, actually. I could be wrong, but I believe this is Jin. But I just think that there's a lot about this photo that I really like. I love the fact that there's some very great aesthetics to it. You have the white door in the back. You have the fact that he's wearing a white shirt under the black jacket, and his face is lit up. You can see that he's looking up and he's trying to have fun. He's trying to be in the moment. Concept photography is not photography in general. It's not easy. I've shared horror stories with you guys before about things that I've had to see and I've had to endure with clients as a photographer. And honestly, sometimes the client isn't very cooperative. Obviously, this being BTS, they're going to be cooperative because they know their way around things. They know, we got to make our fans happy. We got to have fun with this and know that even if we don't enjoy having our photos taken, which I'm not saying they do, which I'm not saying they don't, they still got to make it look like they're happy to be there, that they're positive. And there's just so much about this. I love the fact that you can see that the lighting on this is just so immaculate. I love the fact that, you know, you can see him as a person, but as you look more to the left, he just kind of starts to blend in somewhat with the dark background. But I also love the fact that with the white door in the backdrop, that whoever took this photograph, they knew what they were doing. Because, you know, you have to have some kind of like a lighting, some kind of off-colored lighting besides the black you know, background. I love the fact that, you know, you're able to see that kind of thing, and it's so impressive to me to know that not only do you have that opportunity to have that great aesthetic background, but at the same time you can just have fun with it. But honestly, when it comes down to it, I love the fact that when it comes down to this, you know, it's just so impressive to me. The fact that, you know, you have this great model. You have this great person, which is, you know, I believe this is Jen. Like I said, I believe this is Jen. Again, you can correct me if you want. I'm not going to stop you. Just be polite about it, obviously. I'm still learning my way around things. But I love the fact that, like, there, you know, you can definitely tell that the photographer was like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna look up at this light, and we're gonna try to get, and then, you know, they probably had to like maneuver and position him in a certain area and make sure that that the lighting was great. Because as a photographer, like, I can tell you right now, lighting is key. You know, even in, whether it be in the moment when you're taking the shot, or even in post edit, like when you're editing the shots, like, you got to make sure that lighting is like on par. That's not the correct word usage I want to use, but that's the one that came to my brain. But there's a lot about this I love. I love the fact that you can still see the shadow, or, you know, under his chin, that goes down to his goes down his neck. But I also love the fact that you can see his eyes, you can see the detail in his hair, you can see the detail in the jacket. And really, it's just a well-done photography. It's just a real well-done photograph. I was very impressed with this, you know, even going on. And here's another one of the same individual. And this is a great example of what concept photography is. You know, you have someone that's sitting there, they're waiting, right? You have someone that's just like, you know, we're about to come back, we're really excited, and they're just wanting, you know, when I see this picture, I see them thinking in their mind, like, can the other band members of BTS be back now? Like, can we start making an album? Like, this is, to me, this reminds me of a little kid on Christmas. But there's a few things I want to point out on this. I love the fact that he's wearing green, and it really just kind of, you know, it's a different color than the black couch and the gray blanket that's behind him. And you can just see that, like, you know, it was very well done. And obviously, the lighting was just spot on, to be honest with you. I love the fact that, like, if you zoom in, you can see the detail in his hair, you can see the detail in his eyes, his facial structure, and you can see the detail and the wrinkles on his hoodie, and even on his pants. You know, I think that's so cool. It's a great thing that I love to do. I love it when people, as a photographer, I love it when people, when they kind of coordinate with their whether it be their their significant others, their family members, whoever it is that they're taking photos with. That I love that they coordinate. I love when they coordinate, is what I should say. And they have, you know, they do things, kind of things like, great example, when you take fall photography. You know, I love it when people, you know, they wear the fall colors. They try to match. They try to, you know, really just coordinate with one another. And this is definitely something that the photographer in the studio that took the shot, they did. Like, obviously they knew his sizes, and they're like, okay, so we need you to go change and put on these clothing items, and you're just gonna have this very serious look. And honestly, when it comes down to it, photography is not just about the post-editing situation that you have. It's also about, you know, making sure that I'm drawing a total blank right now. I've had a lot on my mind today. I apologize. It's all about making sure that they're positioned right, that their facial features are just right, that the lighting's right. There's so much that goes into photography, especially with concept photography. And to be honest with you, I love the fact that like they do concept photography, because this is something that you don't really see. Like, great example, you would never see Blink-182 do a concept photography photo shoot. They post it on social media like, we're in the studio working on a new album. But with BTS and other members of and other K-pop groups, they get people excited, like, hey, we're gonna be coming out with another album, whether it be a solo album or like a group album. Like, we're coming out with another album. So, and they do this kind of stuff, and I think that's so cool. And I love the fact that you can see the texture on the couch, you can see the texture on the blankets right there. It's so very well done. And see, oh man, this is even better. Like, I love this. I love the fact that he's sitting now up against that white door from the other shoot. And I love the fact that, the lighting is just, it's spot on. It's spot on. As a photographer, I always, like, when people have asked me, like, people who are wanting to learn photography and everything, they always try to tell me, like, what's the best piece of advice that you could give me? And I always tell them, like, you got to make sure your lighting is good, because if your lighting is bad, the rest of the photo is just not going to turn out very good, to be honest with you. And again, that's not the correct word usage I'm wanting to use. I've just had a lot on my plate today. But I love the fact that, you can see that he's happy, he's excited. And I love the fact that I love the fact that they have, everything else blurred out besides him. You can see the camera tripod, you can see the fact, and I love that you can even see the detail on his shoes, on his clothing. You can see that he's genuinely excited, because that's something that a lot of people don't understand, especially clients. And I'm not taking jabs at any of my past clients. So if you're watching this and you're one of my past clients, I'm not taking a jab at you. But I kid you not, I've had clients who have either had kids that didn't want to smile, or who looked like they just got arrested, and knowing that he just has this happy look on his face right here, that in itself encompasses the whole photo. As a photographer, obviously there is sad photography, like wartime photography that people have captured, but like when it comes to like this kind of concept photography, you don't want to have that negative message. You want them to, be excited. They're coming out with a new album. This is going to be so great. It's going to be so much fun. And I love the fact that they did this. You can see his shadow. You can see the fact that, you can see that has multiple lighting. He has multiple lights shining on him, and that's one thing about a photographer. Like, even as I speak, I have a light right here. I have a light right there. And that's how you guys are able to see my face as clear as you are right now, because lighting, whether it be photography, videography, or just making a YouTube video in general, like, lighting is essential. I could do a whole video on how bad lighting has really ruined some of my shots and some of my videos that I've shot even before I got into YouTube. But going on, see, I like this one. It's a very aesthetic shot. He's wearing something else, and I love the fact that the photographer chose to have him wear a sweatshirt that has some, looks a little rough, but it has a lot of detail in it, because this is stuff you don't really kind of think about when you're the client. You don't think about, okay, like, well, what do I need to wear? Like, do I need to wear something that has plaid? Do I need to wear something that has more detail? Something that's basic? And I can tell you from personal experience as a photographer, you want to wear clothing that's detailed, but not over detailed. It's not over detailed, if you know what I mean. And I love the fact that this is just, it's very well done. The point of view is really great. Everything about this is great. You can definitely tell that whoever shot this photograph, they knew what they were doing. He's looking off in the distance, and that's one thing. Like, I've talked about this in videos in the past, but this is one thing that I love to talk about. I have this shot that I love to tell people about, and it's called what did I call it? What did I call that? It was called the epic shot or something. I don't remember exactly what I called it, but I would tell people like, hey, look off in the distance, and I'm gonna get a shot of you and your loved one, in that kind of mind frame. And I can tell you right now, every time when I've done it, it has paid off so well. Whether it be I did a black and white shot of it or I did a colored shot, it was just so cool. And I love it when photographers incorporate that kind of stuff, like where they say, okay, don't just look at the camera. Don't just look at the camera. Look to the look to the left, look to the right, look to wherever they tell you to look, because that just brings out more creativity. And I also like the fact that he's sitting against a white wall. He has dark hair, and honestly, this photo would have turned out a lot differently if he had been sitting up against like a black wall or a brown wall or like a red wall. It's all about location. I always tell people location is essential, and making sure that you know what you're doing beforehand. So that's why I always say like storyboarding is important when it comes to videography. This kind of stuff is important when it comes to photography. But I really like the fact that you can, it's just, the depth of field is amazing. You can see him as a whole person, but you can definitely see that his face is the main focal point of this, which is so crucial as a photographer. But I want to go on to another one of their different websites, if it'll load for me. Come on. Technical problems, am I right? Maybe. Oh, here we go. Here we go. It took a little bit, and I love this. So, this is another, behind the scenes concept photo of BTS, and I love the fact that the lighting was great. You can see the fact that the depth of field is amazing in this, to be quite honest with you. And whoever took this is really cool, and I love the fact that you can still see that there's a person back there, but they're kind of blurred out a little, and then, that's where that depth of field comes in. He needs to be the focal point. You don't want this person back here being the focal point. You don't want the items on the shelf being the focal point. You don't even want this yellow wall to be the focal point. You want him as a person to be the focal point. And I love the fact that the lighting is so well done. You can definitely tell that this was at a supermarket. It's like at an entrance of a supermarket, and it's very well done. You can see the detail in his hair, which is really cool. I like the shiny. The light shine in his hair. I like the fact that you can see the individual strands. You can see the detail. You can even see the light in his eyes, which is really well done. You can see there's just so much about this that I love. I love the fact that when it comes down to it, the photographer knew what they were doing. You can see the detail in the jacket. You can see the detail. You can see the detail even in the jacket right here, like where it's the shadows kind of creeping on a little bit. This is a very well done. This is a very well shot photograph. I'm very impressed with this because depth of field. That's one thing I always try to tell people. Depth of field is essential when it comes to photography. Whether it be you're doing landscape, you're doing portrait, you're doing wildlife. Depth of field is one of the most key parts about photography that you need to always understand. And whoever took this shot did a very well. They did a very good job. They did it very well done. My brain is scatterbrained today. You're gonna have to bear with me. But even looking at it more, I love the fact that you can see the detail in his jeans. You can see the detail in his pocket right here. You can see the detail. I love the fact that you can even see the detail of the button. Having the button is just so cool, and you can even see that. You can see that it's a little bit worn, that's totally cool, but that kind of makes it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And even looking at this, this is a full. I really like this shot because I always tell people to be creative when it comes to photography. I always tell people you got to be creative, you got to have fun with this. And I love the fact that they shot it kind of at an angle, so he's not just looking straight at the camera. He's looking down, but the photographer's also taking it at an angle. He's taking the shot at a little bit of an angle, which is a very creative aspect to do. I like the fact that you can see the detail in his ear, you can see the detail in his hair, and I like the fact that the depth of field is just spot on. The depth of field as a photographer, and even just looking at this as the fact that this is concept photography, this is very well done. This is the kind of stuff that a lot of you know, like National Geographic and other places, they love to get these kind of shots because the person, this individual right here, which I know I believe this is Jin, as you know, from BTS. And again, you can correct me if you want. I've had a very long day and I can't. My brain is kind of scatterbrained right now. But they really captured Jin as a person, and they did a very well. They did a very good job at capturing him because, you know, they're like, hey, you're just gonna look down and we're just gonna take some photos. Try not to look so serious. But I love. There's just so much about this I love the fact that you can still see that there's a person behind them, but the depth of field is just spot on. Guys, there's so much that I could go on. Like, if you guys would like a part 2 of this, like, I will be happy to talk about part 2 because, as you can see, like, there, it just goes on for. But before we even talk about that, I want to talk about this because the depth of field is very well done. You know, he's the focal point. He is the focal point. I love the fact you can see the detail in him as a person. You can see the detail in the scarf he's wearing, the jacket he's wearing. You can even see that, you know, he has people that are around him taking photographs, and he's being calm and collective. You can see the fact that, you know, there's people in the background, but again, he's the focal point, and so the depth of field is just spot on. But seriously, guys, this is very well done, and as you can tell, there's a lot that we could even go over. You know, even if I was to hit refresh, there's a whole section on BTS that we could do. See, and here's another great one. I love this shot because you know, the color scheme of what he's wearing, it stands out so well when it comes to photography. You know, and I love I love the depth of field. You can still see that there's stuff in the background, but he's the focal point. And as a photographer, I've said this already a lot in this video, but you want to make sure your subject of the photograph is your focal point, and that, you know, everything else is kind of not necessarily blurred out, but the depth of field is like on par. And again, whoever took the shot, they did it. They knew what they were doing, and it's like what this person says right here, Paula. As they said, you did a beautiful job. They did a really beautiful job. The lighting is on par. I love the fact that, you know, you have some orange in the background, but you can definitely tell that, you know, he stands out. And I love the fact that, like, you can see that just the detail in him as a person. You can see the detail in his hair. You can see this is just such an amazing video. I mean, such an amazing video. This is such an amazing shot, and these are the kind of shots that I love to do. Like, I've taken shots like this before of clients, and every time when I've taken those shots, I've been so elated with excitement in the post, you know, in the editing process when I've seen them come, when I've seen the, you know, the colors come to light, I've seen everything come to life. And there's a great photograph that I did, like, it was like my second, I talked about it in my second video on this channel. So if you want to go back and check it out, like, I'll put an iCard somewhere up there. Just know that I did not know what I was doing when it came to photography back then. I mean, and I didn't really, well, I knew what I was doing in photography. I didn't know what I was doing with YouTube. I had a very stage fright kind of voice. But I'll put an iCard up there. But I love this so much. This is so cool. And I love the lighting right there. You know, as a photographer, lighting is essential. I've said this. I love the fact that you have this great pink lighting right here, and you can see that he's in the moment. As a photographer, you want to capture people in the moment. And sometimes some of the greatest shots I've ever captured were when people weren't really realizing I was taking photographs of them. You know, and I love the fact that you can see the detail. You can see that, you know, there's so much detail in the background. But again, he's in the moment, and as a photographer, you got to have fun with that because you want to capture people in the moment. And on that note, guys, I will see you in the next video.